I served on active duty in the United States Army from 1994 to 1998 as an Arabic linguist in military intelligence. I then transferred to the United States Army Reserves, where I served from 1998 to 2004. I was activated and stationed stateside right after 9/11 for about 2 years. And having gone through the system twice, once before 9/11 and the start of the wars and once after, I personally witnessed a complete transformation in the way the process was handled.
And they were finally able to address the shoulder injury and said, no, you're not fit for deployment. I gave them my MRI results and they said, yeah, you need surgery. This was over 2 years after the injury. I said, you need surgery. You should have had surgery a long time ago. And so they ended up doing the operation. And then I went through about 6 months of physical therapy for that. And at that point, they told me I basically had plateaued. I had gotten all of the good out of the physical therapy that I was going to get, which, by that time my shoulder was still, and still is, actually worse off than it was prior to the surgery. And they had told me that possibly because they had waited so long and my shoulder was so damaged that they basically had to overcorrect the surgery and pretty much disabled my shoulder for the rest of my life. And so it came time for medical discharge. And now that process has been going on for over 6 months, waiting for appointments for both psychiatric issues and for physical issues.
In 1998, I was given a complete and full, thorough end-of-service physical. And not only that, as part of the out-processing system, a VA representative sat with me and reviewed every single page of my medical file and filled out a VA disability claim for me. In 2003, with thousands upon thousands of reserve units, National Guard units, service members being deactivated through Fort Bragg, we received no end-of-service physical. In fact, they said after being activated for 2 years, and this was an unaccompanied tour, so family members had to pay for their own, for their families to stay there with them. They told us if we wanted an end-of-service physical, we would have to wait at Fort Bragg in these really run-down World War II barracks, way out in the backwoods, for 6 to 8 weeks or longer. And who, after serving activated in the reserves for almost 2 years, would want to do that? The message was really incredibly clear. Don't ask for an end-of-service physical. There was no VA representative there helping to assist people file a claim. There was nobody reviewing their medical file. There was nobody telling you that you were eligible. There was nobody telling you the way to get into the system.
My name is Thomas Malinowski. I served in Vietnam, Airborne Ranger 101, Screaming Eagles.
And we all know that there's like that crucial time when a soldier is leaving the military, when you have that opportunity to get them into the VA system. And that if you miss that opportunity, it's just so much harder to get soldiers in afterwards.
Now I'm disabled and waiting on retroactive checks from the VA.
Have you had trouble getting disability from the VA?
Yeah. I've been waiting.
Talk a little bit about that?
I've been waiting right now 6 months for checks from the VA that are supposed to be retroactive. 6 months is a long time to be waiting, I could be off the street already, and a lot of other veterans are homeless just because they ain't getting their checks. It's a real big problem with the government.
Once you get this, have you tried to call the VA to get this disability?
Oh, I've been on their, excuse my French, but I've been on their ass left and right,
Yeah.
And I have people from BRC, a counselor that's on their butt too, But they keep on saying, You know, it's on the way, it's on the way, it's on the way, but it's never gets there. You know, it's first time I really needed the government. You know, see, I'm one of them people, them pride people who don't like asking welfare or don't like doing this. You know, I'd rather go out and do it myself, work for it, like pick up scrap or something like that. Like I was picking up scrap before I started paying him, but scrap fell so bad now that they're paying 15 cents for a pound of aluminum where it was $1.20 just about a month ago.
When I left the reserves, I decided to finish my education, and I really wanted to continue serving veterans and my fellow brothers and sisters in the military. So I decided that I wanted to work in the VA. In 2004 or 2005, I did internships at the VA in Georgia, where I saw active duty soldiers returning from Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere, because the VA had actually signed on to assist military hospitals taking care of our returning soldiers, because Department of Defense hospitals could not keep up with the demand of wounded soldiers returning. When I graduated, I eventually got a job at the VA in Richmond, Virginia. And there I was working as a research assistant on a study looking at post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. Because the symptoms of these two illnesses are incredibly similar, and it's just so hard for people to know whether or not it's PTSD or traumatic brain injury. There's just so much that we need to learn in order to better treat our returning veterans. As part of that process, the research group that I was working with wanted to develop a screening mechanism to screen returning soldiers for traumatic brain injury. And they went through a long process. There were a lot of incredibly educated, well-informed people establishing this traumatic brain injury screening. And then they went to kind of go that next step to actually make it happen. And I was actually on a conference call when somebody said, wait a second, we can't start this screening process. Do you know that if we start screening for traumatic brain injury, there will be tens of thousands of soldiers who will screen positive, and we do not have the resources available that would allow us to take care of these people. So we cannot do the screening.
You can't get any better health care anywhere in the world better than the VA.
And their rationale was that medical ethics say that if you know somebody has a problem, you have to treat them. So since they didn't have the resources to treat them, they didn't want to know about the problem. And I think it's very much incumbent upon all workers in the VA to find every area that we need addressed and to demand that we get the resources to meet those needs.
You know, it's not a matter of bad talking about the VA. It's a matter of getting the VA to work with us, you know, and work with the veterans on a better situation, you know, and treat them better than they were in the past. Definitely, it's improving.
My name is Dan Whitman, firefighter Dan Whitman from Ladder 3-5. I'm in the United States Army. I've been in 10 years. I served 13 months in Iraq, from Abu Ghraib to Anaconda.
From vets that you know coming back, do you feel like they're getting the health care and stuff they need? Or?
Some yes, and a lot more no. I like the wounded warriors that we have that come back. I think a lot more should be done. It's like, you know, I would say the government wasn't prepared for the good job that they trained us to do, and they're overwhelmed. But I also feel that more could be done in the long run afterwards, because after they're released or the tour duty's over or the contract's up, they're kind of like on the wayside. And we should make a stronger effort to upgrade our VAs.